If you want a great book on public speaking, this is one of the best books to read. The author, Carmine Gallo, emphasizes that great speakers are made, they are not born. In his book, Talk Like TED, the author was basically inspired by the phenomenal popularity of TED Talks. TED Talks are short and powerful presentations delivered by some of the world's most inspiring thinkers and leaders. Gallo noticed how TED Talks were being watched by millions around the world. He observed how speakers were able to captivate audiences, how they were able to deeply connect with global audiences, and often just within 18 minutes. With this, Gallo wanted to decode what made these talks so powerful and stand out so much. So Gallo basically, with this, with his background in communication and his research in neuroscience and psychology, he explored how the brain processes information, why storytelling works, and how emotion drives action. He used this to basically break up the techniques used by the top TED speakers. He interviewed many of the most successful TED presenters. He decoded what exactly made some of the top presentations so engaging, and with this he wanted to help professionals, educators, leaders, and students alike learn to present ideas in ways that inspire, inform, and engage the public. So what are some key takeaways from this book? Well, one of them is to unleash the master within. Essentially, this means being passionate about the topic that you are talking about. Passion is basically contagious. So when audiences are able to see that the speaker is passionate about their topic deeply from their core, the audience is able to engage much more proactively. They're able to engage much better when they sense that the speaker truly cares about the topic that they're speaking about. So Gallo found that the top TED speakers had one thing in common, and that's the deep passion that I was talking about. So when you speak from a place of genuine interest, this emotional intensity activates mirror neurons in the audience's brain, and this makes them feel what you feel. The second key takeaway is to tell 3 stories. So basically, our brains are hardwired for stories. Have you ever noticed when someone is speaking and when they actually engage with a story, everyone is listening much more? And this makes sense because stories make things and information more digestible and more relatable. So Gallo highlights that many TED Talks follow the rule of 3. This is 3 sections, 3 stories, or 3 ideas because it's easy for audiences to follow. So when you deliver these 3 things through storytelling, this is one of the easiest ways to get people to remember your message and also follow your message in an engaging and captivating way. So the types of stories you can tell, they could be personal stories. For example, a story of overcoming adversity. You can also share the story related to maybe client stories. For example, transformation due to a revolutionary product. You can also have maybe historical or scientific anecdotes referencing known events with a twist. The next takeaway is to basically, in very simple terms, teach something new. People are drawn to novelty. They love discovering new things, new ideas, new concepts, facts, or perspectives. When the brain encounters something surprising or maybe something unfamiliar, it releases dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. It enhances memory and it enhances attention. This is ultimately what you want to introduce to your audience. So you can do this by introducing new angles or new perspectives and challenge conventional wisdom. One simple tip is asking yourself, what will the audience walk away knowing that they didn't know before? Another takeaway that Gallo shares, and I think this is one of my favorite, is to deliver a jaw-dropping moment. So this is basically a quote-unquote wow moment that grabs the audience's attention and it stays with them. One example is Jill Bolt Taylor's talk, where she brought a human brain on stage while she described her stroke. And this is a moment that probably few in the audience forgot. Maybe some people cannot bring a brain to a discussion. So in this case, maybe you can bring a shocking statistic or a live demonstration, something that emotionally hooks people, powerful stories or dramatic visuals. These are all great ways to create emotionally charged events that drive your story forward. If you have a naturally inclined comedic side to you, you can also lighten up and use humor. Gallo emphasizes that using humor makes you more relatable and it helps reduce the tension in the room. You don't need to be a stand-up comedian, but you can just allow your natural personality to flow, and maybe your quirks can kind of shine through. A witty comment or a funny story or maybe an unexpected observation that made you feel a little bit shocked can maybe make your discussion feel a little bit warm and maybe a little bit more human and relatable. The final takeaway is kind of to tend to the brain's inclination to be more visually oriented. The brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. With this, it's a great idea to introduce visuals rather than text to your talks. Gallo emphasizes replacing text with relevant, high-quality visuals. This could maybe be photos, charts, infographics, or key phrases that really stand out and make people remember the core concept of what you're trying to share. He encourages speakers to think more like designers and storytellers rather than lecturers where there's just dot points and a bunch of text. Some of the most effective TED Talks that he references all had maybe just a couple slides, a couple words, and a few pictures. But the pictures were the things that really stand out as a way of hooking the audience and having them remember those wow moments. So in summary, Talk Like TED is not simply a guide for public speaking. It is a roadmap for sharing your ideas in an emotionally charged way, in a way that moves people. Whether you're speaking on stage or maybe you're in a meeting or maybe even recording a video, the key is to be passionate and to tell stories that connect with your audience and communicate visually, tending to the human inclination to be visual. As I said in the beginning, and the author emphasized that great speakers are not born, they are developed and they're created and forged through practice and through commitment to sharing stories with passion and authenticity. So if you have an idea worth spreading, maybe it's a good idea, if you haven't yet, to read this book, whether it be for a personal endeavor or maybe a professional pursuit. You definitely will have some great tips that you can carry forward. Thanks, and I'll catch you around.